You ready, Willie?
I'm ready.
The next installment. See what
All
Grandma
right,
has cooking for us. What kind of wisdom can we pull out of here? Oh, this one's gonna be fun. It is called Be Legendary.
Oh, all right.
Everyone can be legendary. In our first series podcast we talked about that idea of dynasty.
Right.
But on this one, I think we can maybe talk a little bit about how maybe being legendary might even be better from a perspective than being thinking about it like a dynasty. So,
All right. So,
legendary.
I'm gonna need you to go deep on this, Matt.
Let's do it.
I want you to share an emotional experience that you recently had. Right, you know where I'm going.
I do. And the experience that I can share is that July 4th weekend, we lost a brother-in-law, and that's inner circle, and it was unexpected, and it was a freak accident, and it was my brother-in-law Trip, who lives down in Tarboro, North Carolina, and Tarboro is really agricultural, small town, eastern North Carolina, halfway between Rocky Mount and the coast. There's not much there other than tobacco, a river for fishing, and a couple industries that have built up wrapped around that, and about 6,000 people. So my brother-in-law was a ham radio operator, and it was his passion. It was his hobby. He'd been doing it for 40 years. So during the week, he had his studio at home. He would broadcast and touch people all over the world. And then on weekends, I don't know that much about the ham radio world, but it's quite common for ham radio operators to have a traveling set of gear and take it someplace new, someplace that they hadn't been, to then broadcast from a new location and see, hey, while I'm broadcasting from here, am I touching a different set of people, the same people? And they engineered kind of games and contests wrapped around this. So this particular Friday, which happened to be a holiday, Trip did what he does on most weekends or days off of work, which was I'm grabbing my gear and I'm going to a spot. And in this particular case, the drive took him about an hour and a half away from home, and where he set up his gear and he started broadcasting. And that was the last we heard from him. So he was found later in the day, probably not that much later, but he was found dead right next to his equipment, and he electrocuted himself. So what had happened is that his equipment somehow, some way got a little bit too close to the high power wires. We don't know how it happened, but it happened. And this is just one of those things that, man, oh man, shock, awe, screams, tears, right? All of these things that come at you in life just kind of, hit you all at the same time. Right, the scream from Sarah, the raw emotion of
Sarah's wife, by the way.
Right, was just, and brother. We packed our stuff and we were in the car like 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
So because we had no words, we didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
But we got there as fast as we possibly could, and when we got there, I think where you're going with this is that I experienced something new. I think, right, I can honestly say that Trip left a legend in his wake, or he was legendary. And the reason I say that is because I think with what he did and who he impacted in this town. So when he wasn't operating a ham radio operator, he was a nurse in the local hospital. And his family also owned a bunch of properties, right? Low income properties and rented out properties. And he knew all of those people personally. And I believe in the time that we were there and the 10 days that we were there, I think half the town showed up, right? To somehow come over to the house and tell his wife, Joanna, and kids, Sadie and Simon, just how much their dad meant to them. It wasn't just that they were sorry. It was back to that 93%. They were deeply sorry. There was an energy in there, which is they were, right, really, they felt it. And they shared that feeling. And it was so powerful to be part of that, because I think, right, as I reflect and on terms of, right, legendary, I guess it's almost always a death experience where you start thinking about this stuff, but kind of go reflecting on the end of people's lives and that difference that they've made in other people and how those other people then show up to share that. is it was just so powerful. I hadn't experienced anything like that before. So, and it's changed. It's changed a lot. It's changed a lot about what I believe to be important, and I think how I'm going to live my life going forward. I want to be a little bit more like Tripp and touch a few more people. So I think that's where you were going with that in regards to we can all be legendary.
Correct.
This isn't just for, the best football teams or the best quarterback of all time, but we can be legendary in our own lives and how we touch people.
Correct. In our own communities, right?
Correct.
So you think about it. So you say, well, okay, he was a nurse, right? And there's positive things and stuff to go along with that, right? But he wasn't a famous neurosurgeon, right? He wasn't, a famous athlete, any of those things. Because that's when we think about creating a legend, that's what we think about. But a real legend is the person who connects with you in a positive way that helps brings out the best in you, right? Whatever that mechanism is. So because that's what we bring to the world, right? And if we can figure out how to do that on a daily basis, and Tripp, the great thing about the Tripp story is that he was just doing a hobby of his that he enjoyed doing, but by using that hobby, he touched other people's lives in a way that people came from out of town to his funeral, right?
Right.
And he did things in the community on a daily basis, probably, that just added to other people's lives, where in turn they said, wow, we're going to miss that guy, right? We're going to miss him.
Yeah.
We're not glad that he's gone. We're sad that he's gone. And we wish that he could be here tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So
the world lost a good one.
That's right. That's right. And it's interesting there, right? So when you told me that story and I thought about it, again, part of I sat down and said, okay, Willie, if you don't wake up tomorrow, who will cry for you? Right?
Yeah.
Who will cry for you? I know my family's going to cry. My wife's going to cry. My relatives may or may not cry. but who can you do something in this world that touches other people's lives in a way that they're sad that you're gone because of what you brought to the world? In any and every aspect that you do, as a neighbor, as a physician, as a scholar, as the president-elect, the president of the AMA, right? As a board member, as just a dude walking down the street, every day, right?
Yep. As a parent.
As
As a husband.
Correct. As a husband. Like, what can we do, right, that brings so much, and I don't want to call it joy, but benefit to the world, that people cry for us and miss us when we're gone.
That's what I'm writing down out of this, right? Which is that idea: who will cry for you?
Yeah.
And just how powerful that is, and if we live that way, and then where you went to meaningful touch, and then the word that I wrote down was this idea of resonance. Just this idea that, right, my spirit, my energy, right, reached you and touched you and meaningfully impacted you because it helped you in some particular way. And that can be sharing wisdom, right? But it doesn't have to be that. It can be, right, I can be a legendary friend.
Correct.
Because a legendary friend would show up and just be like, you know what? I don't have an agenda. I am just always here, and I'm here for you. Right. And I think that you and me is better than just one of us being just kind of there. And so we just end up doing the right thing for ourselves and for the community.
Right.
And just kind of always being that other centric. So maybe that's a piece of this drive. It's not even a drive, but live your essence to ultimately be remembered as legendary. I don't know, I guess, in thinking about this and just kind of riffing, kind of going, oh man, I'm going to live my life to be legendary. I'm going to be this drive to be legendary. I want it, right? And then I'm going to keep metrics on, how am I doing and progressing toward being legendary. I don't know that fits this.
No.
right? This is deeper than that. This is heart. This is just really, really being there for people,
Yeah.
deeply caring and really wanting their best and then helping them become their best
right.
to whatever they need for that, and many different faces of that.
Correct.
So to add on to the Tripp story, there was a service that was done by the fellow nurses when they lose, right, a fellow nurse, and I didn't know this existed. I don't know if they do it for everyone.
Yeah.
But right, there was literally kind of this, kind of fallen nurse ceremony that, well, again, another, 75, 100 people that show up for this, and not a dry eye in the house.
Wow.
And then outside the hospital, like the very next week, like Tripp would just kind of show up and just want to engage with you and be a friend. And hey, Shug, let's sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And like the hospital, and it's a for-profit hospital, they installed a bench like the very next week outside
Wow.
the main entrance with, hey, Shug, let's have a seat.
Oh, wow. Let's have a
Right.
seat. That is so awesome.
In memory of Tripp.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of think about some of those stuff
Yeah.
and go,
Yeah.
right?
Now I have a question.
And it wasn't for any kind of accolade. It wasn't
Correct.
just, back to that, oh man, I'm driven to be legendary. This is a different thing. This is our human essence. And it's just ultimately, if you can be truly true to who you are,
That's right.
and that true to who you are is in alignment with and in resonance and really deeply caring about other people, the end result of that
Correct.
is legendary.
Correct. So that's what I was going to say. I almost interrupted. I apologize for that. But what I wanted to ask was, and you already answered it. When he was just being himself, was he thinking that he was having the impact or the desired impact? What he was being, it was just being himself. I'm a ham radio guy. I love ham radio. Hey, if I'm on the ham radio, I might as well do the same thing I do on the ham radio. Hey, I'm at work. Hey, I see that you're like, there's something, you're going through something. Let's just sit down and chat for a minute. What can I help you? How can I help you? What can I do? Hey, child. Hey, wife. Hey, what can I do? Right?
Right.
And that thing.
And it is that simple.
Correct. It's that simple compared to I'm all caught up in me. And I'm worried about me and that no one likes me and I don't want to like and I don't want to me and I have me. Well, hold up. What he showed us is that how much more valuable life is when it's othered, centered. And he was probably a great nurse because of it. Great ham, what do they call him?
I think so, because
Yeah.
there really
husband.
wasn't that driven agenda. There was
That's
only
right.
like in Nurse, it's all about care,
Correct.
right? It is all about outcome. How do I help you get out of here
That's
in the
right.
fastest way so that you can go on and live your best life?
Correct.
And, to that extent, we're all humans. We're better together than we are. How do we connect? How do we meaningfully connect
Correct.
through this life? And what are those different ways? And there's a lot of different ways. Ham radio is Morse code for the most part. So you're going across and you're crossing languages, right? It was, pretty frequent for, Tripp to be communicating with somebody in Southeast Asia or right in Russia or Ukraine or, hey, what's going on with you? And kind of go, man, if I really want to get into problems, there's a lot of people that have problems, but if I'm just here, if I'm just listening and I'm just offering you, right, the ear of a good friend,
Yeah.
no judgment. Wow.
Wow. What a life, man.
That's beautiful. It's
Correct.
powerful. And I will say, where we talked about kind of that energy, that positive energy, that stuff where you're expecting that, well, I just gave you that. I just gave you kindness. I expect back to the reciprocity thing. But in the world of that reciprocity is going out into the universe.
Yeah.
Then it comes back through that. Who will cry for you at your funeral? Evidently, if you do this thing right, hundreds, maybe thousands of people, right,
Correct.
will show up. And then for the family that you leave behind, you can they will be there with a very, very heartfelt, whatever you need me to do,
That's right.
I will drop everything and I will do that for you.
Correct.
Like, whoa,
Whoa. I know. Yeah.
get chills thinking about
yeah,
it.
Yeah. So, what can we do every day to help us become more like Trip?
I'd like you to share your story that you shared last week about your neighbor and kind of his hobby wrapped around
Oh, yeah.
fish.
Mr. Cook.
So, because I think the answer to that lies in there's a million different ways to do
Correct.
this, but
Correct.
and then we'll unpack the common thread at the end.
Correct. So we're talking about a neighbor of my grandmother's, next door neighbor. If you faced my grandmother's home, it would have been to the left, and the Ships were to the right. But this is the Cooks, right? So Mr. Cook, every Friday, especially throughout the summer, you would see him out there. I mean, we're talking about a big table with a whole lot of fish, and he would be gutting them and cleaning them and this stuff. I mean, a lot of fish, right? And no one helped him. He just, and I think he did it so efficiently that he didn't even want anyone helping him, right? And I wish I kind of was there helping him, so I learned how to
Learning the
gut
craft,
fish.
yeah.
Correct. I mean, and he would do that, and then he would take a big thing of fish and he would bring it over and give it to my grandmother. And when I mean a lot of fish, my mother would then call all her cousins, and we had a bunch of them, and they would come over and we would fry this fish and eat fish. Lake Michigan, Lake Perch, Buffalo, all or whatever. I mean, all kinds of, and we would feast, and we would have such a wonderful family time. And he did the same thing with his family and other people across the street and did that stuff with their families, right? But what he gave to us, this love and joy, right? He liked the fish, he caught a lot of fish, and he shared that with the rest. He didn't freeze them. Like, he didn't take them and say, I got enough fish for me. I'm going to put it in some freezers. I got a big freezer, and I'm going to eat this, right? All for myself and all for my family. What he did was share that with the world, right? So I'm in college. He dies. And I'm like, I'm going to his funeral, right?
And how many people
Correct.
did you do that for?
Correct. I'm going to his funeral.
Not many.
Yeah. And I'm there, and I bought my buddy Nate, there. And hey, man, I got to go by here. And we went by there, and we hung out and stuff with his, and I knew all his grandkids because they all came, 17 of them, whatever, all would come into this house like in the summertime. We all played together, and we would be there, and the other kids were there, right? I mean, it's like, you just think about this, right? So this guy, he worked in the mill, right? He was just, a guy my grandmother's age, right? In the neighborhood, wasn't a big talker, right? Wasn't any of those things, but he was a loving, caring, good person who shared his love with others in the community, right? He had a garden. He would take stuff from his garden. He would share it with my grandmother. My grandmother shared stuff from her garden, right? He cut my grandmother's grass, right? He did all these things. He was just being, in those days, if you said to him, Mr. Cook, why you do this? He would say, this is what men do, right? That's probably what he would have said. This is what men do, right? But in the end, what he was doing was just, hey, I'm just a guy sharing who I am, what I have with other people, right? And in turn, other people did the same thing for him, right? When I cut my grandmother's grass, my mother said, you better go cut Mr. Cook's grass. And you better go cut Mr. Ship's grass. And I would say, well, Mr. Cook got grandkids. Mr. Ship's got a son, right? And then my mother would be like, you better go cut their grass.
It's time for you to go cut the grass.
cut the grass, right? Why? Because who you think cuts your grandmother's grass when you don't cut it? He does, right? Because that's what neighbors do. That's what a community is. That's a community. We're commune. Mm-hmm. We're together, right? We're together in this, right? Yeah. I mean, and then as we talked about one of the other episodes about character, all those things develop the character of the individuals, the family, and the community. And by the way, I used to love eating that fish, man.
Plus, 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 all of those little plus things on
That's right.
on our compound interest piece.
Correct.
So common threads, ultimately distilling things down to your essence,
That's right.
right? Mr. Cook, it sounds like, he's just a normal guy, but he really likes to fish.
Correct.
And it turns out he's pretty good at fishing.
Correct.
Because when he goes out on Friday, he catches enough to not only feed himself, but to feed others.
That's right.
And he's a loving, caring, good-natured person who just loves to share that with other people. And as I think about, right, that's common with Tripp and his story. It was Raptor wasn't fishing, it was ham radio operation, or it was how he showed up at work. Kind of that same thing. There's a loving bit, there's a caring bit. There's getting to the essence of who you are and being really comfortable in those shoes. That's kind of at the center of this. So right, live legendary.
Correct. Live legendary.
Doesn't take much.
Not much.
Share with those around you. The end result is abundance, community, little better place, and repeat it over time. Those people are going to show up, and they're going to be the people that cry at your funeral.
That's right.
So thank you.
Here's the Tripp.
Yep.
And to Mr. Cook. All right. Thank you.
Be legendary.
Be legendary.